Thank you for joining the event. I'm Vishal, a consultant with Zinnov. The whole next 10 to 15 minutes is an overview of what the Zinnov Engagement Effectiveness Index is and how we use it to understand the impact of the pandemic on collaboration between product managers and engineering teams. So as a part of our industry research, we rolled out a survey to about 300 GCOE and global leaders to understand what their top priorities are currently and in the next few years. And as the analysis of the survey, what we found out was that GCOE leaders are more focused on building capabilities at the center, focused on parameters such as talent, innovation, while global leaders are looking to drive more and more ownership and value from the global centers, and hence product and market ownership is one of their top priorities. To be more specific, 71% of the global leaders that we reached out to felt that product and market ownership is one of their top three priorities, and they're actively looking to drive more value from their global centers. This is also resonated from the fact that majority of the GCOE leaders felt product ownership is set to increase by 6 to 10% in the next 2 to 3 years. All this indicates that while cost and talent are still an important factor and are still a top priority for leaders, driving more value and bringing more ownership to the center is becoming an increasing focus for GCOEs. And obviously, as a consequence of this, having effective collaboration between various verticals, especially between product managers and engineering functions, is crucial. And this has essentially been compounded in the current pandemic, where an already complex problem has been made a little more complex with the fact that travel is restricted. Organizations are forced to work in a remote working model. So the question obviously arises that has the collaboration between engineering and product management worsened, bettered during the pandemic? Has the fact that it's easier to conduct meetings in a virtual background helped organizations, or the fact that having multiple meetings in a day has led to meeting fatigue in organizations, and that has led to worse effectiveness in collaboration between product managers and engineering functions? And to understand the impact of pandemic on these collaborations, the engagement effectiveness index essentially looks at identifying what are the top challenges and what are some of the key advantages that organizations can leverage. At the very base, the engagement effectiveness is a detailed analysis of how different modes of collaboration and interaction are affected during the pandemic, and how have these changes impacted various pillars of product development. We worked with various GCOEs to identify the different metrics for both of these pillars, which would then be used to understand the overall engagement effectiveness, and has that increased or decreased or remained same during the pandemic. The methodology for the whole analysis is essentially rolling out a survey to both product managers and engineering teams to gain their view on how the pandemic has affected metrics in each of these pillars. And as part of the analysis, we then work to quantify these changes, these impacts on both the pillars, and come up with an holistic view of how the engagement between product managers and engineering functions has been impacted. Post the analysis, we then plot the quantitative results on a 2x2 graph to represent the results of the analysis, which are quite easy to consume. The way to read this graph is essentially the distance of each of these bubbles from the steady state lines indicates whether the impact has been positive or negative, and to what extent has that impact been during the pandemic. And the other thing to note in the analysis is the fact that if the two bubbles are very far apart, that would indicate a gap in the challenges that our product managers and engineering teams have faced, and some of the advantages that they've leveraged. A deep dive analysis of the metrics would then reveal what are some of the key actionable items for both product managers and engineering teams that would help in improving the engagement effectiveness. Based on our past analysis, we have identified some of the best practices that GCOEs are following to minimize the impact of the pandemic on product management and engineering collaborations, and are also preparing for the new normal. The first, obviously, is increasing the involvement of engineering teams in forward-looking interactions with customers so that they are more involved in the requirements gathering phase and have a first-hand view of customer requirements. The flip side of the same coin is involvement of product management in various stages of the product development lifecycle so that they have a clearer understanding of what some of the roadblocks are, what some of the challenges that the engineering teams face, and effectively collaborating with them to eliminate some of these challenges. And as we did mention that GCOEs are obviously looking to increase more product ownership from India and are looking to build products that are catered to the local market and emerging markets such as APAC and Middle East. There is an increased focus on innovation and ideation. This has led to a more synergistic alliance between product management and engineering functions while building out the product strategy and effectively looking at building products for the local market. The one main aspect of focus area that organizations have looked at while looking at collaborations between engineering teams and product managers is optimizing these interactions. So what this essentially means is reducing the redundancy in meetings, looking at if a particular meeting is needed or can it be just an email, and optimizing those interactions to save time of both product managers and engineering teams. And lastly, the important aspect that the organizations are looking at is adapting traditional methods of collaboration to remote working models and ensuring that these can be utilized in the long run. So converting product demos which were done traditionally in an in-person view to a virtual environment, and then ensuring that these product demos are interactive and are also provide a good experience to both the customers, product managers, and engineering functions. This is a brief overview of what the engagement index that Zinnov is looking at.